Okay, so essentially you were the main guy running the committee. I mean, with the exception of the senators.
We're going to leave this programming now to take you to the third annual Women's March in Washington, D.C. The first was held back in 2017 after the inauguration of President Trump. According to the organizers' website, this march marks 2 years of resistance to the Trump presidency. We expect the speaking portion of this event to run a little over 2 hours.
So that we can tell those stories. And for us to I come from an indigenous community, and most indigenous communities are, like my sister here said, matriarchal, and it's time to rematriate. It's time to take this white, male-centered, I'm so sorry. It's time to reclaim the tradition of female leadership. And turn this old, white, male-dominated perspective of life and history and turn it upside down and rematriate. We need to do this for ourselves, and we need to do this for our children, for the next 7 generations. Thank you.
And today is Valerie's birthday because 7 generations ago, a grandmother got up and remembered to pray and make this life for our children, our grandchildren, 7 generations ahead of us. All my relations, march on. All my relations, march on and rise.
Beautiful relatives. My name is Sarah Eagleheart. I'm Oglala Lakota, and I'm the CEO of Native Americans in Philanthropy. 2 years ago, our communities, our Indigenous communities, came to the Women's March under Indigenous Women Rise. And we were so excited because 1,000 women, Indigenous women, traveled to Washington, D.C. to share their voice. And our sisters at the Women's March heard us. Linda, Carmen, and Tamika heard our voice. And they stepped up for us in so many ways in the past 2 years. They've showed up at our events. They've shared their platforms with our communities to raise up Indigenous issues. The community that I come from, our issues, our poverty, our pain is largely forgotten and left out of the media. It's left out of the research, and our voice is not heard, and you don't see our issues because you don't see us. And now it's time for healing. It's time for truth. And we also want to uplift the issues that our women are going through with the missing, murdered Indigenous women epidemic. And so today we're going to share a song that came from our First Nations sisters in Canada, the Women Warrior Song. 2 years ago, we sang this song from the very beginning of the march to the very end. And the Indigenous peoples were the first there to pray. And we were the first to close the march, walking across the finish line. This song is offered as a prayer song. Wopila.
Hey,
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. You look so beautiful. I'm the Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, and I'm the Senior Minister of Middle Collegiate Church in Manhattan. And I'm so glad to be able to follow my Indigenous family and share some words of blessing. You know, standing here and looking at you and thinking about this movement makes me want to tell you what it means for me to be a Christian pastor. There's all kinds of Christians, but I'm the kind that believes that there's more than one path to God, the kind that believes that every single body, no matter who you love and how you look, is created by God exactly as you are, fabulously exactly the way you are. And I'm really clear that I understand that I follow a Jewish, poor, itinerant rabbi who was born in Nazareth, which is in Galilee, which is in Palestine. So he's like Mr. Intersection all in his body, Jesus is. Poor, Jewish, Palestinian, Afro-Semitic, homeless, and at once a refugee. That's a refugee that we follow. I was talking to my friend Ruby Sales this morning, and we were talking about the messiness of movements. She told me a hilarious story about when she was a 17-year-old working for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in Bloody Lowndes County, Alabama, and how she and all the SNCC students were sometimes very frustrated with Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, they were frustrated with Saint Martin Luther King Jr. They said he'd get all dressed up in his suit and handle the press and do the preaching while they were getting chased by dogs and shot by police. So one day, Stokely Carmichael thought they'd protest him. No matter how good he preached, Stokely said, we're going to just fold our arms. We're going to just look at him. We're not going to clap. We're not going to shout. We're not going to stand up. But guess what? Dr. King preached his butt off, and all those resistors stood up and cheered him on anyway. Ruby says movements are messy. I'm here to tell you movements are messy. We don't all believe the same things about God, and some of us don't believe in God at all. We don't have the same tactics. We don't have the same strategies. We don't think we should have the same, way to do stuff. But we agree in this. Our common enemy is white supremacy. Our common enemy is transphobia. Our common enemy is sexism. And our common enemy is greed. Movements are messy, but we're going to have to move together. And because it's a mess, we need to take these things with us. One, patience. 2, forgiveness. 3, resilience. 4, humility. And 5, a stubborn commitment to look at our neighbor and understand that they are badasses. To see them as an extension of ourselves. So, honey, I'm blessing us today to stay in this messy movement together. Woo!
Shabbat Shalom, DC. Let's try that one more time. Shabbat Shalom. My name is Abby Stein. I am a Jewish transgender queer woman and an ordained rabbi. I am here today with my Jewish family, with my LGBTQ and transgender family. Together we are screaming that we are here with every part of who we are, with every identity of who we are. I want to share with you all a quick piece that relates to this week's part of the Bible, of the Torah, that we are teaching in our synagogues this week. In our tradition, leaving Egypt wasn't an historical event alone. In our tradition, leaving Egypt was an existential and generational event. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמה כאילו היא יצאה ממצרים. In every generation, every individual sees themselves as they themselves have gone out of Egypt, have gone out of their narrow places. Every time, every generation, and every place, when we let go of a narrow place, when we let go of what divides us, it is what unifies us. It is what brings us together. I want to try one thing with you all. I'm going to mention something that we all have to let go. Repeat after me with let it out. Can we do that? Okay. Anti-Semitism, let it out. Transphobia, homophobia, racism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, ableism. I want to ask you all one thing. A lot of people out there, a lot of people on the media are trying to divide us. What brings us together is not the fact that we are all the same. What brings us together is our differences. Today and every day, we are letting go. We are leaving the narrow space, the narrow mind that is telling us that we can only be with people who agree with everything with us. We can be with every individual because of what brings us together and because of our differences. Shabbat Shalom.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you all with the greetings of peace and blessings. My name is Rimaz Abdelgader, and I am a proud Sudanese Muslim American. A local community organizer and activist with Engage USA, and an aunt to 5 beautiful black little Muslim girls. I look out and I'm so inspired by the beautiful faces that look at me. The faces of my sisters and the faces of my brothers, the faces of my family. In humanity, uplifting each other today. When we uplift one of us, we uplift all of us. When we save one of us, we save all of us. The Prophet of God, Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, When you kill one innocent man, it's as if you've killed all of humanity. Woo! And when you save one life, it's as if you've saved all of humanity. Woo! My message today is for all of us to save one another, to stand with one another in times of hardship, adversity, trials, to look at one another and humanize each other. I stand before you speaking on behalf of the American Muslim community, but I also speak to you on behalf of my story. One day when I was in college organizing, someone looked at me at the end of the day and decided to take my life. He almost ran me over with his car, and as he attempted to take my life, he said, "This isn't Iraq, bitch." And that is what has woken my activism. I turned to my faith so that I could heal from that trauma. So we, the Muslim community today, are here marching for equality and freedom. We are here today marching for the safety of our Muslim children that are being bullied in schools. We are here today marching for the end of injustices across the world. Here in the heart of our nation, Washington, D.C., the glue to all of our borders and where our families come from. We are here marching alongside all those who are protesting oppressive governments locally and globally. The governments like my home country of Sudan. Right now there's a protest happening because the president has reigned power for over 30 years. Peaceful protesters are walking down the street and are being shot at. So I urge you to go home and see what is happening globally as well. Because an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are marching against unjust policies and laws that leave the marginalized perpetually disadvantaged. We are marching as Muslim women and are visible today because we believe that our faith motivates our activism. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, forbids what's evil and enjoys what's good. Islam, our faith, tells us that when we encounter an injustice, to change it with our action. And if we cannot change it with our action, then to change it with our voice. Speak even if your voice quivers. And if you cannot change it with your voice, then you hate it with your heart. Woo! I stand before you today to say that our faith as Muslims is not what you hear about in the media. Our faith is a faith that speaks of surrender and peace, salam. Our faith is salam. Islam is a faith of peace and justice. Islam preaches that if you save, like I said, one human being, you've saved all of humanity. Some politicians can only succeed in demonizing minorities if we allow them to. We cannot allow these politicians and policies to turn us against each other and use fear-mongering skills of hate to divide us. This is what undermines our principles of justice, freedom, and liberty. I just want to share one ayah from the Quran, a verse, and it says, "O mankind, indeed, we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes so that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted." This is what I believe America to be. Thank you.
Hard love! Woo!
Peace, my brothers and sisters. My name is Leah Daughtry, and I'm the Executive Minister of the House of the Lord Churches. And it is our pleasure to be here to stand in solidarity with you on this pivotal moment. Our country's founding documents declare, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All men are created equal. For more than 200 years, some of us for more than 400 years, we have worked, fought, scrapped, climbed to make that declaration include all of us. And now we have fought through Reconstruction, through the Civil Rights Movement, through the suffrage movement, through the farm workers movement, through Stonewall, to this moment, where we stand and declare that we are equal and that we are here to secure all of our inalienable rights. Now, some people ask the question, well, aren't you happy yet? Aren't you satisfied yet? Don't you know that women are the biggest voting bloc in the nation? Aren't you satisfied? Aren't you satisfied that Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House? Aren't you satisfied? Aren't you satisfied that there are a record number of women in Congress? Aren't you satisfied? Aren't you ready to stop? And we just say today, oh no, we're not ready to start. We're just getting started. And they say, well, it's time for you to stop. And we say, oh, we can't stop. We can't stop. We won't stop until every child is reunited with their parents at the border. We can't stop. We can't stop. We won't stop until every child has free, full access to education. We can't stop. We won't stop until everyone has full, free, fair access to health care. We can't stop. We can't stop. We won't stop until every black mother's child, every Latina mother's child, every Asian mother's child is able to walk the streets fair, free, and safely, and not fear, without fear of their lives being taken by the people who are paid to protect us. We can't stop. We won't stop until every black woman, every white woman, every trans woman, every Latina woman, every Asian woman, every Native woman, our lives are valued all the same, and we have the same protections and the same freedoms and the same rights as our white brothers and sisters. We can't stop. We won't stop. This wave is just starting. Come on, sisters, let's ride the wave.
All right, I'm Melanie Campbell with the Black Women's Roundtable, the National Coalition. Cora Masters Berry on the steering committee and the former First Lady of the District of Columbia. So are you ready for the wave? Where's the women's wave? Where are America's people today? We're right here. So, and I want to first stop and thank the leaders of the Women's March and all of the people who are part of the Women's March all over America. We as black women, you see this t-shirt, Power to Sister Vote. We know what happened in 2016. We tried to tell folk. In 2018, we took it another step and we said we're going to push back down the street and we're going to take over the Congress. And in 2020, we're going to take over what? The White House. I always say that women have to stick together. Either we stand together or we fall apart. So I'll tell you, like the great freedom fighter Harriet Tubman said, when you hear the dogs coming, keep moving. When you hear the torches in the wall, keep moving. When they're calling your name and trying to hang you up, keep moving, keep moving, keep fighting, keep moving. Thank you. All my
relations. I'm Johnetta Betch Cole. I have the amazing honor of standing here to represent over 4 million black women, members of the National Council of Negro Women. We women of NCNW know the truth in these words of our shero, the iconic Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who led our organization for over 50 years. Dr. Height said this: if the time is not ripe, we have to ripen the time. This great nation of ours is still apparently not feeling ripe enough to deliver its promise of full and equal rights for women. So that is why we women are here today to rise up, to march, to let folks know that we insist that America deliver on her promise. NCNW is focused on eliminating what is minimally the double jeopardy that black women suffer from: racism and sexism. But we also call for the end of all of the isms that keep us, our families, and our communities from thriving. We must ripen the time for the end of any and all systems of inequality. Here again, the words of Dr. Dorothy Irene Height. She said there are no persons who are not entitled to their civil rights. She went on to say this as she assessed where we are in terms of guaranteeing those civil rights to all Americans, including us women folks. She said this: we have to recognize that we have a mighty long way to go, but we have to go there together. And so, my sisters, my brothers, my siblings, my relations all, today only a matter of another day or so before we and the world remembers the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Hear him explain to us why we can only go there together. He said we are caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one of us directly affects all of us. And so it is that we black women in NCNW are committed to the kind of civic engagement that will substantially improve the lives of all of us. And we stand in solidarity with our sisters of all hues, with our sisters of all backgrounds, with our sisters of all conditions. We of NCNW stand with indigenous women. We stand with poor women. We stand with immigrant women. When we can, we stand with disabled women, with Jewish women, Muslim women, Latina women, Asian and Pacific Islander women. We at NCNW stand with lesbian, bisexual, and trans women. We stand with old and young women. We stand with white women. The 4 million black women of NCNW are committed to the struggle for civil rights, for women's rights, for human rights. And we will stay in this struggle until no girl, until no woman stands alone, stands afraid, or stands without equal rights.
We are here as Jews and as Jewish women of color marching. Giving thanks to the Most High God, who is good and whose mercies endure forever. Shabbat Shalom. The prophet said, we are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is the time for vigorous and positive action, the prophet said, Dr. King. As a new member of the Women's March Steering Committee, I am feeling both humbled and super proud to be standing here with you, with my sister April, with all of our sisters and Jewish women of color who have stepped up and stepped out in this moment to lift up a new Jewish reality. We are here for ourselves. We are here for our families. We are here for our communities. We are here for this country. And we are here for the world. At this time, on most Saturday afternoons, I would be at a table with my husband and my children enjoying our Sabbath meal. We would be taking comfort in our traditional observance of the Sabbath. Yet today, I am standing here with you in a wave at the edge of the sea, because there comes a time when there is a need for something in our tradition called pikuach nefesh. Saving our and others' lives becomes tantamount to our comfort. We are here at the Women's March, standing with you against the longest government shutdown in history. We are standing here with you and all those whose labor and lives have been devalued by a government whose policies devalue humanity. We are affirming on this day that human rights are women's rights, and that women's rights are human rights. We are standing on this platform, honoring the fact that the Women's March policy platform is fighting for changes in our government that will mitigate suffering for all of us. We are here to positively shape our future. We are standing with women who are involved in the criminal injustice system. We are standing with refugees and immigrants due to wars. We're standing with women from the Caribbean. We are standing with women from Africa. We are standing with those who have been subjugated by xenophobic laws and economic exploitation. We are standing with indigenous women. We are lifting up hashtag MMIW, our need for environmental justice, our need for reproductive justice, our need for gender justice, our need to stand tall and clear as women of color and as Jews. I am here as the circle leader of a brilliant wave of Jewish women of color and Jewish women who have come to Washington to issue an invitation to all women to stand in solidarity with us, to help us to be fully seen, to help us to join movement work, to acknowledge that the pain of anti-Semitism is real and it cannot be condoned, equivocated, or excused, but must be dealt with face to face, heart to heart, eyeball to eyeball as family. Jewish women of color are here to do this work together, and we're to do it in the context of liberation, because the fight for justice means being intersectional. It means that there is no other movement for us to be a part of. It means we're doing this work because we love our people, all of them. Shabbat begins with a phrase. We always begin Shabbat with a Hebrew phrase. It goes, Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Boker, Yom HaShishi. And it was evening, and it was morning, one day. And the reason why we say that is because when it's evening and when it's morning, you look up at the sky and it looks the same. You don't know if it's getting dark or you don't know if it's getting light. You don't know if it's a womb. You don't know if it's a tomb. You don't know. But is it in that unknown that we as Jewish women of color will jump in? We will jump into the unknown and declare a new reality that draws forth liberation. Shabbat Shalom.
Isn't my sister Yavila brilliant? Woo. So much brilliance today. Shabbat Shalom and good afternoon, my beautiful people. I am here, as Yavila mentioned, standing alongside 75 other inspired Jewish women of color and a whole contingent of Jews who are present here today. I see you. What a joy it is to be here today and an honor to be a member of the new steering committee of the Women's March. My name is April Baskin. I work as a public speaker, activist, and diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant who supports people in working more effectively across lines of difference. As a proud, multiracial Jewish woman of color with Black, Jewish, and indigenous Native American heritage, I come to this work honestly. I carry many communities with me today and every day in my life and work. I stand on the shoulders of giants like my dear sisters and friendtors, Yavila and Shahana, and many others on this stage and around the country. I come mostly with a message of hope and joy today, but I also want to be honest in acknowledging that for many of us, the past year has been filled with a lot of heartache, pain, and quite frankly, exhaustion. And I want to be specific here in terms of who I'm talking with. I'm speaking to everyone here today for whom this march matters. I'm speaking to the people who couldn't be here for medical reasons who are home, and for the people who were afraid for some reason and will watch this on the live stream later or watch the feedback later on YouTube. This march is for you. Just in case you are questioning, give yourself the time you need to heal, but we are here ready to walk alongside you on this path. So please join us. So many of us, especially women and allies from communities targeted by oppression, are deeply homesick for a place we have never been to yet, never experienced, for a world of justice and equity, truly, that has not yet come into being. That world is ours to create and claim. It's not only okay, but necessary to demand more than just breathing just a little and calling it life. Now is the time to ensure that we transmute our collective longing and yearning into powerful, sustained collective action on this day and in the months and years ahead. But when we are exhausted and scared, as many of us are, and for good reason, how could we possibly do that? My desire, my invitation for each of us is to remember and rekindle a sense of hope. Remember that? We've had a lot of hope before, y'all. We can have it again. I believe our actions and leadership are most powerful when we are truly able to envision a positive future in which all of us are not only free from injustice, but experience the joys of justice and kinship. All right, I'm going to get a little personal, y'all. One of my go-tos for rekindling hope in what is possible is engaging in the sacred feminine practices of ritual and song. So on this day, I want to share a few brief lines of a song I learned in Jewish summer camp. Woo woo! By legendary musician, Jewish feminist, and leader Debbie Friedman. May she rest in peace. For those of you who know it, feel free to sing along. You'll recognize the passage possibly from the Holy Book. I sing, I can't sing, y'all, so tolerate me here.
We'll help you out.
Thank you. And the old shall dream dreams, and the youth shall see visions, and our hope shall rise up to the sky. We must live for today. We must build for tomorrow. Give us time, give us strength, give us love. We get to call on our ancestors, our songs, and our feminine traditions to carry us through this moment. I share these beautiful, uplifting lyrics with everyone here and everyone watching this. It's critically important that we bring our full selves joyously to this work. Yavila and I and all of our brilliant Jewish sisters of color and all of our Jewish sisters and allies here today, we are prepared to walk alongside you. All of us, everyone here, every single person here, all the white people here, all the black people here, all the people of color, pan-ethnically, Jews, all of us, we ain't got nothing to lose but our chains. Let's get free, y'all. Shabbat shalom.
What's up, beautiful people? I say, what's up, beautiful people? What's up, beautiful people? A mí me gusta darle gracias a mi poder superior por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí con ustedes. También quiero honrar la tierra en la cual estamos aquí hoy en día. Y también quiero pedir permiso a la gente de esta tierra que me permita decir unas palabras en su tierra. I know that it was hard a little bit for you to understand, but I just honor my higher power and the people from this land. And I also ask the people from this land to allow me to say a few words in their land. My name is Bambi Salcedo, and I am the president and the CEO of the Trans-Latino Coalition. We are a national advocacy organization that also provides support services and sustenance for the transgender community in Los Angeles. Today is a historical day, not just for me, but for many trans women. Today, trans women get to be visible to the whole world. We get to raise our voice and proudly say that trans women are women, period. No one, nobody, not the government, not individuals, companies, or institutions get to dictate who we are as individuals, as a community, and as a movement. We will define ourselves. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our transcestors. Trans women have led and have been part of many different movements throughout history. But our contributions and the value that we bring have been erased from these movements. We are here reclaiming our space, not only today, but for many years and many movements to come. Despite centuries of attempts to erase our existence, we are here. We have been here, and we will continue to be here. Trans, intersex, and gender non-conforming lives are not disposable. No one can claim to fight for social justice when they exclude, degrade, criminalize, or contribute to the continuous institutional violence that we experience, particularly trans women of color. It is not enough to come to a march and say that you stand in solidarity with us when you turn around and make jokes to your friends, when you center every discussion around cisgender experiences. Or even when you talk shit about me simply because I am a woman with a penis. My truth is that I am a woman and I belong here. Feminist is not just for cisgender women. It's not just for white women. It's not just for the middle class or the able-bodied. Feminist is for all of us. I thank the Women's March for honoring that. And I ask all of you to stand with us as we stand with you, to fight for us as we fight for you, to recognize us as we recognize you. A wise woman once said, our feminists will not be intersectional or, hold on, our feminists will be intersectional or it will be bullshit. We do not arrive at intersectionality by adding one oppression on top of another and subtracting our privileges. Intersectionally recognizes that our identities and personal history form unique experiences that cannot be quantified or generalized. Our life experiences will never be exactly the same, but we're all fighting a common enemy. Misogyny, transphobia, white supremacy, homophobia, ableism, all of these bigotries come from the same violent ideology that sees us as less than. None of us are less than anyone, and together we can be so much better. I am asking you to really look at your heart and think about what you stand for. I believe that if you're here in this space, if you march with us, it is because you stand with trans women too, because we are women. Now, I want to hear you say with me, trans women are women. Trans women are women. Trans women are women. Trans women are women.
My name is Alexa Rodriguez, and I'm a proud Salvadoran trans woman, and I'm a woman.
Nutuke Shemeyule Manabusen Tapepechul, Nahane Siwat. Good evening, my name is Shemita Pepechul, and I am a woman!
Hi, my name is Deirdre Martin, and I'm a trans woman.
My name is Maria Roman, and don't get it twisted, I am a woman. And not only am I a woman, I am a badass fucking bitch.
Trans, intersex, and gender non-conforming people are not going anywhere. In fact, we're just coming into our power. So if you do not stand with us, then get out of the way and consider the space reclaimed. Thank you.
We love you!
Are my sisters in the house? Are my sisters in the house? I stand before you to bring you word from some of the fiercest ancestors from the black tradition. I bring you word from Sister Ella Baker, who said, we who believe in freedom must never rest. I bring you word to remind us that it is good when the sisters and a few good men get together. That it is important for us, not just in the Women's March of 2019, that this year we bring an agenda with us. It's one thing to protest, and we need protest to remind the people with special titles that the everyday people of this country will not have our voices suppressed or depressed. We stand up. We bring the protest, not just to the White House or the halls of Congress. The State of the Union matters, but the state of the streets matter more. And what is happening in the state of the streets right now at this moment, we have almost 1 million of our sisters and brothers who are not receiving their paycheck because somebody decided to have a temper tantrum. The state of the streets says that folks with fancy titles ought to understand that folks need to eat every day, pay their mortgage every day, get their medicine every day, and live every day. And I submit to the folks who are blessed enough to walk the halls of Congress because we gave them the power through our vote that they all need to be in a room and never come out until the government reopens. The state of the streets says that it is immoral and unconscionable that in the United States of America that anyone would suffer by not having clean water, clean food, and clean air. Hello, Flint, Michigan. Hello, Toledo, Ohio. Hello, Ames, Iowa. Sisters, to you most importantly, we need more of the feminine spirit in this thing. And everybody that looks like us might not roll like us, but we need more of the feminine spirit. And the feminine spirit stands up for humanity in a badass way. Can I get an amen? Sisters, we're not going to play around with this. Things are hard. Folks are suffering. But I believe in a transcendence that is greater than any one man. I believe in a transcendence that's bigger than any one moment. And if you don't believe me, I want you to think about the history of revolution in this country. And this is what this is about, revolution, baby. We are not going to build on the old. We are going to build on the new. This is about revolution. And as we as a nation wrap our minds around the fact that there are far too many people with titles who don't give a damn about the people, if we wrap our minds around the fact that titles are good, they get your phone calls returned. They get you in the room. Titles are good, but purpose is better. And we need more purpose-driven people. And that is why the citizen leaders of this nation
nation, women and a few good men like you who are here today, we are the voice of consciousness. But we can't just talk about it, sisters. We got to be about it. And that's 365, 7 days a week. That is how we rolling. Now, I forgot to introduce myself. I got so hyped up on what I was going to say. My name is Nina Turner. I hail from the great state of Ohio. And I am the president of our revolution. I bring you word from crying mamas. I bring you word from families who are suffering every single day just to make ends meet. I bring you word, sisters, that the feminine spirit is what is needed for humanity. And that spirit is about truth. That spirit is about justice. That spirit is about uplift. So we must protest, but sisters, we must also plan. And the Women's March has an agenda in 2019 of justice for all. I bring you word as somebody who understands what it means to suffer. I bring you word that I wasn't born with a fancy title. I bring you word that those of us who can relate to the everyday struggle of the everyday people of this nation must unite regardless of our ethnicity, our gender, our sexual orientation, our religion or no religion. We stand together. Whether you are black or brown or white or yellow or red or the swirl in between, baby, we are together. I bring you word that this is a race about perseverance. That this is not, to quote the Christian Bible, the race is not given to the swift or to the strong, but to she or he who endures to the end. This is an endurance race. Because the fight for justice is about endurance. And it is our time at this moment to do what we can, where we are, with what we have right now. So I bring you my final word from one of my sheroes from history. Well, a couple of them, because I want you to think as I wrap this thing up about the power of one. See, Rosa Parks understood the power of one. When she channeled an entire movement in Montgomery to boycott a bus system that discriminated against chocolate folks, I bring you word, the power of one. When Fannie Lou Hamer stood up to not only Democrats of her time, but a system that was rotten to the core that would not allow black folks to register to vote in the South, the power of one. And I bring you word from one of our modern day warrior women by the name of Bree Newsom, who did what no politician could do. When she climbed that pole to tear down that symbol of bigotry and hate, the power of one. The power of one. And to my sisters, I just want you to know that when we move, the whole world shakes. When fierce women move, the whole world shakes. Because our mission is so high, we can't get over it. And our mission is so low, we can't get under it. And our mission is so wide, we cannot get around it, the power of one. So as I wrap this thing up as a preacher and a politician,
from the black church tradition. I bring you word from Sister Harriet Tubman. And I want you to wrap your mind around this, because this is deep. And I want my sisters out there, no matter what you identify culturally or ethnically or sexually, I want you to understand that I am an angry-ass black woman. And we taking applications, baby. You can be an angry black woman too. Because if you are not mad as hell about a system that suffocates the life out of everyday people, if you are not mad as hell that it is rigged socially, politically, economically, if you are not mad as hell that some folks in this country go to sleep at night with no food, no gas, no light, no clean water, if you are not mad as hell that our teachers in LA have to strike, if you are not mad as hell about injustice, then something is wrong with you. Oh no, I am an angry black woman. So I bring my final word, sisters. And I do hope we leave this place more energized to do the work. Because it's good that the family has come together, but what are we going to do for the causes of justice in our communities when we leave here? That is what the Women's March is all about. We have an agenda. We have an agenda. And we must plan our work and work our plan. But in the words of Sister Harriet Tubman, who sacrificed everything that she had, she could have just been very comfortable about her own freedom, but she was convicted in her heart. And she heard the call of God to go back and not only save her relatives, but she saved some other folks' relatives. What are you going to do to save somebody else? And she went back time and time again to save folks and never lost one passenger. What are you going to do for the cause? And not only was she the ultimate conductor on the Underground Railroad, she was a spy for the Union Army in a way that only a black woman could spy for freedom, for justice. What are we going to do for the cause? And nobody is asking you in this time to lay down your life, but we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's what the Women's March is all about. So I want you to take Sister Harriet Tubman's words with you, and she said these words: if you hear the dogs barking, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, don't ever stop, keep going. And if you want a taste of freedom, keep going. In the 21st century, Women's March, if you want health care for all, we will. If you want a system that believes that women should have their whole damn dollar, we will. And if you believe that black women should have their agency of voice without being torn down and talked about, we will. And if you believe that equality and justice really is for everybody and not just somebody, we must. And if you believe that we must change a system of injustice in this country, we must. And if you believe that every child, regardless of their parents' zip code, deserves a high quality education, we must. And if you and freedom and justice in our time. You must. You must. You must. God bless you.
Good afternoon, Women's Wave. Give it up for yourselves. My name is Tamisha, and I'm so proud and honored to stand here as a woman of color to sing the Black National Anthem. If you know it, feel free to sing along with me. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our native land. Thank you. God bless you all.
Washington! My name is Bob Bland, and I'm the co-president of Women's March. And on January 21st, 2017, 2 years ago, we stood here to say not just that women's rights are human rights, but that women of color must be centered in an inclusive feminist movement for us to make any change at all. And you know what? I bring my children on stage with me today
to remind us that there's been a lot of growth over the last 2 years. This one was just 2 months old. And look what we've done. In 2 years, we have fought, we have resisted, we have entered into national conversations that have never happened before. We have broken down silos between groups of people who do not share the same values, don't organize in the same communities, and we have started courageous conversations that I'm sure will last for some time. But the work is not over. And I'm here to tell you that especially after this year's struggles, I have never been more proud to bring my family with me on this journey, and y'all, and I have never been more proud to be led by women of color. The thing that we got to do over these next few years, and this is very important because that women's wave, it is absolutely rising. And like I said, in the first, okay. Like I said in the first Women's March, this is just the beginning. And it's truly just the beginning because we just 2 months ago voted in the most diverse, women-centered Congress in history. And when I say we, I mean literally every single one of us in this audience and around the world, because we're not just marching here in Washington, D.C. We have over 300 marches across the nation today. So I know that there's people who would very much like to see our movement shredded and put asunder, but you got to think about these little ones. You got to think about Penny and Chloe and your little one and the daughters that will come after our granddaughters. And we got to think about what type of world we want to create for them, and we've got to recommit today to struggling together, to learning from one another, to reading and listening to the history, not from the people who did the oppressing, but from the people who were oppressed. That is our true history. We are standing on indigenous land, and I'm wearing red today because I stand in solidarity with indigenous people and recognize their claim to this land. Until we acknowledge the genocide of their people, the slavery of Africans, until we acknowledge the way that that oppression still continues today, it never really stopped. And at that point, when we learn our real history, that is the point when we can be a part of the solution, no matter what the color of our skin. And I have a special message today for my white sisters. I want you to know that I am right here with you learning these things for the very first time. If you don't know, I've only been doing this work just like many of you out there for 2 years, not 20 years. For 2 years, not since the moment I was born, like so many of the people you've heard on stage today. And I am committed to continue to doing that learning and to uplifting their voices. Will you join me? Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. So with that, I am so very proud to introduce Tamika Mallory, Carmen Perez, and Linda Sarsour, because they are my leaders, and they are the leaders we've all been looking for.
Buenos dias, familia. Good afternoon, family. My name is Carmen Perez Jordan, and I'm extremely proud as one of the original co-chairs of the Women's March to welcome the Women's Wave. 2 years ago, as I stood on this stage and made promises to women and femmes and allies around the world to help build an intersectional movement that was bound in the liberation of all people. I shared on that day how Dr. King spoke of the power of being maladjusted to an unjust society. I vowed that we would not adjust to hatred and bigotry. We would resist Islamophobia, xenophobia, white supremacy, sexism, racism, misogyny, and ableism. We would be brave and intentional and apologetic in addressing the intersections of our identities. And collectively, we would stand amongst the most marginalized because they are us. Those weren't just words to me. I have worked in the prisons for 20 years, and I believe in the inherent power and beauty of restorative justice. The idea that human beings are imperfect, we fail, we make mistakes, but we do not throw away people. Over the last year, my sisters in Women's March and I have faced accusations that have hurt my soul. Charges of anti-Semitism and neglecting our LGBTQIA family. And I want to be unequivocal in affirming that Women's March and I and my sisters condemn anti-Semitism and homophobia and transphobia in all forms. There is no excuse of bigotry. There is no defense of bigotry. There is no excuse for hate. But if this movement is to grow and prosper, there must be, in times of conflict, an opportunity for truth and reconciliation. Are you committed to that? Yes. And I am with you, sisters and brothers and siblings, because I am committed to both as well. I vow to anyone who doubts their place in the Women's March, you are welcome here. I vow to Jewish women, there is a place at the table for you. I vow that we will work together and harder to fight against ableism and all forms of discrimination. I stand here as a Chicana, Mexican-American woman with indigenous roots in all my different identities, proud of the work we've accomplished together in the Women's March. You all showed up. We elected hundreds of women, and together we will win. Now I stand even more committed to dedicating my life to building the beloved community that Dr. King dreamt of. Are you with me? The next step in this evolution of our revolution is the Women's Agenda. Women's Agenda will give clear marching orders to every grassroots activist in this nation and establish a solid platform on which truly progressive candidates could run and win in 2020. This is our blueprint for action in 2019 and beyond. But I want to leave you with this. I love this country just as much as I love anyone. I love the pastel sunsets in California, the rolling hills in Tennessee, the ungodly buildings of New York, and the country roads of West Virginia. But most of all, I love my people. I love the people that are the fabric that make up this great tapestry that is America. It's the 310 million stories that paint this once black canvas and the tens of millions of stories that came before them. It's in the people where we find our shared values, not in our politics, not through our laws, It's in each other where we find our hope. So I want you all to remember that the person who doesn't look like you or vote like you is still part of arguably the greatest experiment in history. And the only way we leave this place better for our children is to respect one another. Treat your neighbor as you would want to be treated. Listen to each other and find a way to work together on making this country what we all dream that it could be. Thank you. Y que viva la mujer. There are many who want to define women and rewrite our stories. But it is important that we define ourselves for ourselves. I was born in Harlem, in New York City, in the 1980s, when the crack epidemic tore through our communities and destroyed our families. This epidemic was a man-made crisis designed to finish off my community. My mother and father steered our family the best that they could, utilizing the Black freedom movement as our only source of survival. Through my eyes, I have watched friends gunned down. Through my eyes, I have watched families go hungry. Through my eyes, I have watched men leave on vacations behind bars. Very few people who don't look like me, and even some who do look like me, were there. I joined this movement because I believe that for the first time, there is real possibility to protect young girls who look like me. Young girls who are living with my circumstances, not in 1980, but in 2019. In 1851, Sojourner Truth asked the question, "Ain't I a woman?" She was at a women's convention in Akron, Ohio, with, I'm sure, a lot of women who did not look like her. Today, we ask a new question. The new question must be, intersectionality for who? I ask this question as a Black woman who mourns the loss of 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes, who was killed in a gunfight that had nothing to do with her. I ask this question as a Black woman who feels the pain of Judge Glenda Hatchett's daughter-in-law who bled to death after a C-section because all records indicate that women with the best health insurance still cannot get the proper care in this country. I ask this question because 7-year-old Jakelin Kale died at the border from dehydration. I ask this question on behalf of trans women who are the most targeted and the least protected in our society. And I have to imagine that Kimberly Crenshaw, when she conceived the term and the thought of intersectionality, was thinking about the stories that I have just told. To all my sisters, I see you. To my Muslim sisters, I see you. To my Latina sisters, I see you. To my Asian sisters, I see you. To my disabled sisters, I see you. And to my Jewish sisters, do not let anyone tell you who I am. I see all of you. I see you and I hear your pain. Whether you are a doctor or a sex worker or one of the 800,000 furloughed workers who have not received their paychecks, I see you. And to my Black sisters, I feel you deep down in my bones and in my soul. And I know that many of you heard a battle cry You didn't know if I was okay. So you came, and you called, and you text, and you tweeted. Let me tell you and make sure that you understand who I am. No matter what they say, no matter what they write, I will not bend. My back is up straight. I will not bow. I will not break. I am who I am for over 20 years. And no media outlet and no one else will tell you, I'm telling you, I love all people. And no one will define for me who I am. Only I can do that. And let me say this last thing. They asked me, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this situation? I came to the Women's March and I brought people with me who were not coming before I made the call. And I'll tell you this, I came to do a job with my sisters, and we will complete the job, and no one will be discarded from this movement. We will stand together. We will love one another. We will protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. God bless you. Go in peace. Lord, have mercy. Give it up one more time for Tamika D. Mallory. Assalamu alaikum, my sisters and brothers. Linda Sarsour here, national organizer with the Women's March and the co-founder of Empower Change. Nothing has really changed in 2 years. I still stand before you unapologetically Muslim American, unapologetically Palestinian American, and unapologetically from Brooklyn, New York. We are in a very serious situation. And when we are in serious situations, I remember the words of great people. If you are not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. The words of our dear brother Malcolm X Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz. Sisters and brothers, there are no perfect leaders. We are all flawed human beings. We should not be throwing stones from glass houses. Malcolm X also said, I want to be remembered as someone who was sincere. Even if I made mistakes, they were made in sincerity. If I was wrong in sincerity. I can deal with the person who was wrong as long as they were sincere. Sisters and brothers, we come to this movement not because we choose to come here. It's because we have to be here. Our communities are under attack by this administration. The media can talk about whatever controversy they want, but the real controversy is in the White House. What's controversial is a president and administration that cages children, that throws tear gas at human beings at the border. A president who wants to take back rights for LGBTQ people. What's controversial is our complicit support for a Saudi-led war in Yemen. Controversy is collusion with Russia. So if you want to talk about controversy, let's start talking about the real controversy. In 2017, we marched in the largest single-day demonstration in American history. A
demonstration that was led by women of color. We declared to you in 2017 that we were going to win back the House in 2018. Not only did we win back the House, we put over 110 women in Congress. But that wasn't enough for us. We didn't just put any women in there. We made history. The first 2 Native American women. The first 2 Latinas from Texas. The first black woman from Massachusetts. The youngest black woman in Congress. The youngest woman in Congress. 2 Muslim women in Congress. And my favorite of them all, the first Palestinian American women in Congress. So we marched, and then we won back the House. Now we have work to do. We just unveiled a historic document. 40 years from now, you will get to say that you were alive when we unveiled a truly bold, intersectional, feminist agenda. Our agenda is not just about pay equity, because it's not enough for us just to get paid the same as men in this country. Our agenda is not just about reproductive rights, because we are more than that. Anything from Medicare for all, to ending the war in Yemen, to standing up for free speech and our constitutional right to boycott, divestment, and sanctions in these United States of America. Our agenda was written by over 60 women, directly impacted women, experts from issue areas across the country, from legacy organizations like the ACLU and Planned Parenthood to indigenous activists who work on environmental justice and reproductive rights. That agenda has the pain of broken and hurt people. It is a policy platform made of solutions. And I will say this to all of you. We don't listen to critics without credentials. The credentials are in this movement on the front lines. And when you're listening to the critics, ask yourself this question. Show me another woman-led, large mobilization force like us. And if there is an alternative to us, we are about to go organize with them. But it doesn't exist because it is here in Freedom Plaza. I will leave you with this quote that moves me and grounds me in the work that I do, by an Aboriginal woman named Leela Watson. She said, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come here because you believe that your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. I want you to take 5 seconds to look at these faces, because we're going to stay out here in these streets. We will be on the front lines. We will continue to defend our rights and the rights of the communities that we come from. And this president said that he has an announcement to make today at 3 o'clock. Just to be clear, and we want to declare it from the stage today, he wants to negotiate with us and the American people and with Congress. And I want to tell members of Congress to listen to me very carefully. You will not negotiate on the backs of immigrants, on the backs of people of color. For no damn wall. We don't care what you got to offer. because our answer to a wall in this country is absolutely not. No questions asked, period, point blank. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Bonjour, how are y'all? How are you feeling today? Woo! Want to introduce Toccata Iron Eyes. She's a member of the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. And because our youth must lead, listen to her voice.
Hamidakiapi, Chante Washtena Pechiuzapi. Tokatawi Arnai Zimachiapi Namalakocha Jewaniatui. Hello, everybody. My name is Toccata Iron Eyes, and I greet you today with a good heart and a handshake. My Lakota name is Waniatui. Where are all my indigenous peoples at? Make some noise. Woo! Where are my young people at? As an indigenous girl, I grew up knowing that I was the backbone of my people. I am the leader by a right, a God-given right, that I was born a woman. I was also born indigenous, which meant I was inherently a leader. And as all of us are indigenous to some place, because if you look back far enough, every single one of us has ancestors, has people who knew how to live in harmony with the land, with the waters, with the animals. And that is what it means to be indigenous. It is time to take that back. That part of ourselves that has been taken from us, it is time to regain that. And it happens by coming to marches like this. It happens by sharing our stories. It happens by speaking up about injustices so that one day our daughters don't have to put up with this. I grew up with my grandmothers, my aunties, my mothers, telling me what a ceremony was, telling me that my moon was a ceremony. Me being a woman is a ceremony. The way I walk, the way I talk is sacred, and it's true for all of us in the crowd today. So thank you so much for listening to me. I have one more thing. To all of our indigenous sisters out there and to all of the families who came from the reservations, I want to say thank you to you for coming out, and I'm so sorry because I know that some of you are missing your daughters, missing your family members, and to any young girl who's missing right now, we want you home, we miss you, and it's time to make a change. Bring our sisters home.
Bonjour, everyone. My name is Tara Hauska. I'm Couchiching First Nation Anishinaabe. I come to you today directly from a Frontlines resistance camp. We were fighting Line 3, the largest and most fully funded, fully approved tar sands line in North America. They want to continue to shift their greedy fossil fuels through our sacred territories. When these things happen, when these projects happen, they happen somewhere else, somewhere you don't see. They happen to us. Look at our faces. Remember these faces. These are the original peoples of these lands telling you this is not going to work. We cannot continue to live in the way that we do. We must be sustainable. We must be in harmony with the earth. There is nothing more important to us than the earth. Water is life. 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 When you think of these things, when you are in these moments, look at your grandchildren's faces. Think of their faces. Can you look upon them and say, I did everything I could to give you a better world. I fought my hardest to give you a better world. I fought for the water for millions of people. We are fighting for all of you. We are losing our women and our children when these man camps come in associated with these projects. They come in to build. They come in to take. They rape the earth and they rape our bodies. Remember that. Remember that we are fighting for you because we love you. And when we stand together, we are strong. We are united. We cannot be defeated. We are strong and united. We cannot be defeated. I want to end with a song from the people, from the White Buffalo Calf woman who gave the sacred pipe to the Lakota people. How miigwech for your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are so beautiful. My name is Ana Maria Archila, and I came here because so many of you have given me hope for every single hour of the Trump regime and have allowed me to imagine that our country is not dying, our country is waiting to be born. Those are the words of women who have been fighting and thinking about how to build a democracy that works for all of us. Just a few months ago, I joined thousands of people, women who were fighting against the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. And I found myself putting my foot down and preventing the door of an elevator closing in our faces and the rage and the power of women. I found myself face to face with a man who has been vested with so much power in our society to decide the future and to decide our destiny. And I forced him, along with my sister Maria Gallagher, who's here in the crowd, to listen to our stories, to listen to our rage, to really confront the reality of a culture in this country that enables sexual violence to exist every single day. us, we invite others to find power within them. And when we do that, we are reminded that we are actually experts of our own experience and that our voices are necessary to build the country where we can all be free. So I want to say thank you to the millions of people who 2 years ago marched across the country and set the tone for how we would fight for the people we love, how we would fight for the values we hold dear, and how we would fight to make sure that white nationalism does not take root, that hatred does not take root, that the capitalists who are trying to steal our democracy do not succeed. Because the other thing I've learned in the last few months is that democracy does not exist without us. That we have to breathe life into it. That we breathe life into our democracy when we tell our stories, when we do our sittings, when we come to rallies, when we march, when we protest, when we join together. That's how we build a democracy that works for us. And that's how we build the country of our dreams. Today, as I am thinking about not just the occasion of the 2 years of the Women's March, but the occasion of Dr. Martin Luther King's, what would have been his 90th birthday, I have to remember that we have to guide our everyday with the dreams that we have. And for me, I dream of a country where a woman can have the peace of knowing that her work is valued, of knowing that her children are safe from police and from the Border Patrol, of knowing that her health is sacred and that the country is there to support her when she needs to go to the doctor, of knowing that she does not have to choose between putting food on the table and making sure that her child is safe. I dream of a country where that woman can sit down and read a book to her daughter, and her daughter will see herself in that book. Her daughter will see her history in that book. Her daughter will know that her ancestors survived. They survived the Holocaust. They survived Japanese internment camps. They survived incarceration. They survived deportation. They survived slavery. And they survived Trump's white nationalism. And they survived. I know that future and I know that country is possible because we are here today. I know that country is possible because there are millions of people that are ready to fight to build this country of our dreams. And you know why I also know it's possible? Because over the last 2 years, we have been tested. We have been forced to show up, and we have done that again and again. If you remember, at the beginning of the Trump administration, the Republicans tried 5 times to take away our health care. And 5 times, people in wheelchairs showed up and blocked the hallways. 5 times, people who are dying showed up and made them listen to their stories. 5 times, women showed up and reminded them that we own our bodies and not them. 5 times, we saved our health care. And so now, when I think about the country of my dreams, I think that this country is possible because when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we tell our stories, when we join in protest, when we join in community, when we march, when we sit down and block the hallways of Congress, we win. And I doctor. I want health care. I want Medicare for all that is really for all, that does not leave anyone behind, that does not leave a single person, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their immigration status. Every single one of us has the right to know that our body is sacred and our country will respect that sacredness. I dream of a country where that mother and that daughter know that their voices are respected, that their brilliance is respected, that they are leaders in this moment. That woman is a domestic worker. That woman is a federal worker. That woman is a doctor. That woman is a member of Congress. That woman is my president. That's the country of my dreams. And I know this country is possible, because every single one of us will continue to do what it takes to build the country where we can all be free. I want to say thank you so much to the people, to the women that have dared to lead in the face of so much darkness, and to the men that have joined us every single time and held space for us, and to the people of all genders, to transgender people who continue to remind us that we have to break the paradigm and really imagine a world where we all respect the freedom that lives in our hearts. So join me again in telling the stories that are hard to tell. Join me again in forcing elected officials to look us in the eye. Join me again in saying, look at me. Do not look away. Look at me. Join me again in breathing life into our democracy every single day. So now, tell me, this is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. Thank you so much.
Hello, my fellow Americans. What an honor it is for me to speak to all of you today. And I want to thank you so much for braving the cold in order to raise your voices and fight the injustices of this administration. Thank you. My name is Jamie Rodney, and I am a mother, wife, and a full-time federal investigator at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. My colleagues and I work tirelessly to enforce our civil rights. We investigate complaints of discrimination in housing and lending on the basis of race, national origin, color, religion, sex, familial status, and disability to ensure that all Americans have the right to choose wherever you want to live in this beautiful country. I am also a member of the National Federation of Federal Employees, and I am speaking to you on behalf of the 800,000 furloughed federal employees in America. We are suffering. Our families are suffering financially, emotionally, and mentally because of this Trump shutdown. am here to demand that President Trump, Vice President Pence, Senator McConnell, and everyone in Congress end this government shutdown now. 800,000 furloughed federal employees have been taken hostage by the president and the Senate over a discriminatory wall that the vast majority of Americans know we do not need, we do not want. It is useless, it is ineffective, it is archaic, it does nothing to strengthen our border security. America has way better technology than a wall to have border security. Give me a break. My family and the families of 800,000 federal employees have been put on a path to financial ruin. First, we don't receive our paychecks that we need. Second, they tell us we can't get another job because the ethics department of our agency is closed and we cannot get the clearance that is required. And third, they tell us that once we humiliate ourselves and beg for money, that we could be putting our careers into jeopardy. How outrageous! Meanwhile, the president, Vice President, and Congress are all getting paid. How unfair! We federal employees are middle-class Americans who have been squeezed by the rising cost of living, while President Trump broke his promise for our pay increase by stating that a pay increase would be inappropriate, stating that we must be fiscally sustainable. President Trump, did you consider being fiscally sustainable when you gave the 1% and the wealthy corporations so many tax cuts that you put our nation onto the path to a $2 trillion deficit? No, you didn't. Did you consider whether it was inappropriate to give Vice President Pence and all of your political appointees a $10,000 bonus in the same breath that you took away our tiny 2.1% raise? No, you didn't. And did you consider whether it was fiscally sustainable to shut down our government, stop paying your employees who make this great nation run, and make our economy lose $1.2 billion a week? No, you didn't. The impact of this government shutdown is outrageous. Today is the 29th day of this shutdown, and there is no end in sight. As the House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer stated, quote, "This is a shutdown that is the longest in history. It's the dumbest in history, and it may well be the most damaging in history. We must end this shutdown now." End the government shutdown now. Thank you. If this isn't over soon, all 800,000 federal employees are not going to miss one paycheck. No, we're going to miss 2 paychecks. Tell me. Raise your hands and voices if you cannot miss 1 or 2 paychecks. Almost 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And although Congress passed a bill to give federal employees back pay once the government reopens, all of the contractors that work for the federal government have been shut out, and they will not be receiving back pay. How unfair! Over 1 million Americans won't be able to afford their rent, mortgage, daycare, student loans, medicine, groceries, gas, and all of their bills. We have been forced to empty out our savings, put everything we can on on credit cards, take out loans that screw up our credit, and humiliate ourselves by begging for money. This is not the America that I know and love. This is the product of greed, political corruption, and a failure of leadership from the White House and the Senate. 400,000 federal employees have been forced to work without pay. Being forced to work without pay is called slavery. And slavery was abolished by the 13th Amendment in 1865 in our Constitution, which you, President Trump, promised to uphold. Gotta wrap it up. Okay. We need to come together as a country, a government of the people, by the people, and most importantly, for the people. I am humbled to stand here in front of you today because when I look at you, I see the true strength of our country. When I look at you, I see the conviction and the passion to make sure that future generations have more opportunities than we do. When I look at you, I see power of coming together. I see real people. I see you. And they see you too. They cannot hide from us. We have the right to be heard. We have the right to belong. We have the right to succeed, and we have the right to choose our own destinies. I say to them, if you know what's good for you, you'll get out of our way, because we're coming. Please repeat after me. And the shutdown, and the shutdown, and the shutdown. And the shutdown, and the shutdown, and the shutdown, and the shutdown. Thank you very much, America. I love you. Thank you. We got a lot of work to do, and I was supposed to do this earlier, but I didn't follow instructions. Now I am. See, we make mistakes, we forget. Stay connected to us so you can follow our policy agenda and our 50-state strategy into 2020. Take out your phones and text the word WAVE, W-A-V-E. Text the word WAVE to 40649. Text WAVE to 40649. So I can send you some text messages so you know when it's bad out here, we need you in these streets.
Hello, everyone. My name is Blanca Gamas, and I'm an organizer at the ACLU. I'm also a woman. Yo soy un inmigrante. I am a DACA recipient. I am an American. I am a fighter, and like all of you, I am here to win. My parents brought me to this country from Mexico when I was just 7 months old. They always wanted to give their children the best they could, even if that meant leaving behind all they had ever known. My parents always told me to chase after my dreams. They always told me I belonged here. Because of them, I always had ambitions and hope. I learned at a young age that I was undocumented. It is because of years of tireless work by activists in the fight for DACA that I can stand here today. DACA meant I could graduate college with 2 bachelor's degrees and say yes to my first job. It gave me a sense of security, a freedom from fear and anxiety about my future, things that before DACA I never dreamed were possible. The ACLU has always been known for an organization of lawyers, but with the 2016 election, we felt a call to do more. With a flood of new supporters, we built our organizing force, People Power. And this century-old institution had a new surge of power, driven by a desire to fight, built and led by the people. The past 2 years have been relentless. We've seen the targeting of immigrant communities through the Muslim ban, the asylum ban, family separation, the termination of TPS, and the horrific treatment in detention centers, including the deaths of innocent children. They have unleashed new enforcement on Black communities and ignoring and even encouraging the crisis of police brutality. Black people were villainized at the highest levels of government for exercising their First Amendment rights, like taking a knee during the national anthem. They have undermined access to health care, attacked coverage for abortion and contraception, and denied young women in detention their right to abortions. They have stripped students of their right to be free from sexual assault, harassment, and discrimination. They have tried to eliminate protections against discrimination for LGBTQ people. They tried to erase trans people from the military and from existence. And President Trump came after me and all DACA recipients, trying to prevent us from pursuing our dreams and threatening to going after to remove us from this country we call home. And you know, I can go on and on and on. I take a moment to call these attacks out because in the chaos created every day by this administration, it can be impossible to keep track of it all. But we haven't forgotten. We are fighting back. That's why I'm here today, to be in this fight with you, as is the ACLU and the Women's March. Like the Women's March, we believe in ending gender-based violence and state-sanctioned violence. We believe in advancing LGBTQ rights because we know it didn't end with the right to marry. We believe in ensuring that our queer siblings can live their whole lives from discrimination. We believe in women making choices about their own bodies and restoring abortion coverage for everyone who needs it. We believe in protecting immigrant rights and creating a pathway to citizenship for undocumented people and people with TPS. We believe in ending family separation and the asylum ban and reuniting the families Trump has separated. We believe in ending the first tragic action by the Trump administration that still stands today, the Muslim ban. And like the Women's March, we believe in protecting the First Amendment rights of everyone so that we can speak freely, kneel, boycott, protest, and rally just like we all are today. There is so much more that unites us than divides us. And if we stop to hear and understand each other, we will only find ourselves more united today than we were yesterday. Today, I do not feel attacked or afraid. I feel our power. It is that power, that unified strength that will take us to victory. Seguimos en la lucha. Thank you. Gracias.
Welcome to DC. Welcome to DC. Where my DC folks at? Where my DC folks at? Southeast. Southeast. Holler back. Good afternoon. My name is Nene. That's what I'm going to be named, Nene. I'm a native Washingtonian, born and raised in the Starter Terrace Projects, which is located in Southeast. I'm also a co-organizer for Black Lives Matter, DC. Black Lives Matter. First, I want to thank Tamika and Linda for our atonement, for our future commitments. I want to thank them for giving us, DC, a voice and representation here today. I want to use my time and shine light on the local concerns here in Washington, D.C. I literally been downtown in the last 3 years, more in my entire life fighting for my people. I attended a hearing. Look, you guys, it's right there. Right there, that's where we go. City Council. I attended a hearing for public safety, and I had to remind our city officials that the D.C. Police Department doesn't keep black people safe, especially black trans women and sex workers. In D.C., 1 in 5 sex workers or are individually profiled as a sex worker have been approached by the police asking them for sex. 85% of D.C. trans workers, black and Latinx, with 37 of them being homeless. The D.C. Trans Coalition found that 23% of the black trans people were physically or sexually assaulted by the police because they were perceived to be transgender or in the sex trade. It's past time. It's past time to decriminalize sex work. We need you to invest in the future of black trans women. In 2025, 60% of our youth under the age of 18 was arrested for prostitution. They were black. 80% was black. Despite being categorized as victims of sex trafficking under federal law. In D.C., when our black girls go missing, it's silence. We don't receive Amber Alerts. Our black girls face a dangerous risk every second they gone. Human trafficking in D.C. exists. We have to demand our city to divest from the police and invest in community solutions where we can bring our girls back. The police here don't keep us safe. We, the community and resources, keep us safe. The police here don't keep us safe. We keep us safe. Because of the fearless acts that I take out here in these streets, this white supremacy government has placed a target on my back. There's one right here now trying to take my picture. I'm good. I'm a part of an organization that is healing, building, and infrastructure to empower black people. My spirit guide mother, Harriet Tubman, who used the Underground Railroad to free 1,000 of these slaves, she paid the way so I may walk on top of the tracks, unapologetically black. I walk on the track, unapologetically black. When patriarchy come my way, I don't look back. Misogyny, I don't look back. Imperialism, I don't look back. When I hear those police dogs, I can't look back. Vonda Durance and Gina Bass are personal friends of mine, and it's because of freedom fighters like their beautiful daughters, say her name, Karine Gaines, India Kager, Natasha McKinney, Murray Curry, and so many more. We must continue to say their names. Their lives were shortened by killer cops who must be stopped. So I ask you, where do we go from here? I'm going to continue my journey on top of the tracks. I have a lesbian daughter and a teenage black son. I can't stop until God and my ancestors tell me my work done. Today, I'm going to challenge you guys. When you leave D.C. or return home, please feel free to donate to a D.C. organization, a black organization doing the work right here for our black youth and other, I'm sorry, y'all. And my voice gone from yelling at the people, the ones that was going against the pro-choice. in our marginalized communities. Look, y'all, for real, I need y'all to hear this. In D.C., we don't have a voice in Congress. So I need you to lead D.C. better than the way you found them. So I'm going to tell you, if y'all got those smart trips, you know when you roll the sideways, I'm going to need y'all to donate those, if you don't need them, to the voluntary tent. Because here in D.C., black people and brown people, they get brutalized and killed for not having one when they get on the metro. Before I leave this stage, because I got to go, and April going to talk to y'all, but I want to charge y'all to rise up. Rise up from a system that's not built for the black woman. Rise up on your city officials that are racist and anti-black. Rise up with the one vote. Rise up from those who want to enslave our bodies, physically, mentally, and economically. Rise up from those who want to police our uterus. I'm just saying. Rise up from the black woman incarcerated because they can't afford bail. Rise up for the black women who are in the trenches, building and creating change. I need you to rise up for the 1 in 5 black women who are raped. Rise up for the black women working in the streets. Rise up for that missing black girl in the inner city, especially in Southeast. Rise up, fight back. Rise up, fight back. Rise up, fight back. Rise up, fist up. Ashe.
My name is April Goggins, and I'm also a core organizer with Black Lives Matter DC. I want to say welcome to Chocolate City. Though violent displacement and gentrification have melted so much of that chocolate away, as I look at the crowd this morning, I remember why the thought of that chocolate melting is so painful. First, I also want to welcome you to the district where all 700,000 residents do not enjoy full citizenship in lots of ways, but I'm just going to talk about this one. We are not a state. Though we pay the highest federal taxes, we have no vote, no representation in Congress. So what we need you to do on Tuesday, or whenever, I don't know when they actually work, but we need you to call, to tweet, to email your elected officials, because ours, again, have no vote. And we tell them to support H.R. 51, the Washington, D.C. Admission Act. And that's for hashtag statehood now. Second, D.C. is not just memorials, Congress, or the White House, or the Capitol that was built by slaves that the federal government rented from local slave owners at the price of $5 per worker per month. Where some of these slaves died when a wall fell on them, it was cheaper to bury them, so they remain in a mass grave still today. Third, I want to make it clear that not all women are for all women. For example, our mayor, Muriel Bowser, is not for us. Just this week, she vetoed the bill to decriminalize Metro fare evasion, using the same rhetoric that the two white male council members that, despite Metro's own numbers to the contrary, vehemently swear that race is not an issue. While you listen to the national platform, you need to be aware of what that looks like in D.C. In 2007, 1 in 7 arrests of youth were girls. Since 2013, that trend has ticked upwards to an 87% increase. Meanwhile, arrests for boys have dropped 22%. Between 2007 and 2015, arrests for 13-year-old and 15-year-old girls in D.C. more than doubled. And arrests for 14-year-old girls tripled. It should be noted that the population of females ages 12 to 24 in the district are primarily girls and young women of color, the 67%. DC has a serious police occupation problem. With more than 32 independent police departments, DC is the most heavily policed city in the country. And that's because there are independent police departments for everything here. Every university, there's Park Police, there's Capitol Police, there's Metro Police, there's the FBI Police. Every library has a police department. The Capitol and Secret Service Police are the police that killed and shot Miriam Carey while her daughter sat in the back. With regard to the Metropolitan Police Department, those are the ones with the blue and white and red cars, because there's so many cars. The department has stopped and frisked 8 out of 10. 8 out of every 10 people stopped and frisked in the District of Columbia are black. We only make up 47% of the population in DC. Yes. The Department Gun Recovery Unit is a lawless unit of officers that rove black and brown neighborhoods, jump out of unmarked cars, and unconstitutionally search the district young people while wearing T-shirts with white supremacist symbols on them and a banner with their motto, "Vest up and one in the chamber." Let's not forget those charged with trafficking guns, one used in a homicide, and those charged and convicted of sex trafficking. You are visiting a city where the police chief, Peter Newsham, says being held accountable through oversight by the Council of DC emboldens criminals. But then again, in a past marriage, his wife alleged he knocked her teeth out. Accountability is not his strongest suit. Fourth, you are standing in a city where black women, where I live, cannot deliver babies east of the river. The closest maternity ward is miles away. And let me leave you with this thought. White women do not own feminism. Let me say it one more time. White women do not own feminism. It's not about whether or not we feel comfortable here. The truth is, we ask ourselves, do we want to do the emotional labor it would take to be here? Is it worth the microaggressions and all the women and all women matter banter for hours, the white tears, the eye rolls when Black Lives Matter is announced, and even more poignant, do white women belong in our spaces? If you can't understand why Black Lives Matter stands with our Palestinian brothers and sisters, there is no shock to us that you can't understand why we don't want to be lynched and chased down by the police. If you can't understand us wanting to end police brutality, to stop families from being separated, to hold accountability to everybody who has been charged with taking care of us, then it shouldn't be hard for you to understand why Black Lives Matter endorses BDS. You said what? Okay. I'm passionate about this. And lastly, I want to say you cannot demand how black women defend themselves or their ways of getting justice. You cannot make us use the language that you use to get justice. We as black women can be wherever we want to be because we say so. And I say to you again, white women do not own feminism. And if you want to know why, it's because this black woman who was born in Colorado Springs and reborn in D.C., a mother, a daughter, a sister, a sober woman, survivor, womanist, and anarchist, says so. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Hello, everyone. It is so amazing and beautiful to be around such fierce group of women. And you know, my toes are freezing. But I just have so much energy and my spirit feels full to be surrounded by all of you. My name is Cristina Jimenez, and I'm the Executive Director of United We Dream. And I'm joined by
Luz Chavez, leader from UWD DMV.
Yeah, let's give it up for Luz, who's with us. We are really proud to stand here representing immigrant youth and families from United We Dream who are marching today here and all over the country. We are honored to stand here for all of the immigrant women and girls who have been told no. For all of the immigrant women and girls who have been living in fear of deportation. We are honored to be standing here for them and for their families. Because let me be clear about something. Luz and I and all of the members of our community are undocumented, unafraid, and here to stay. 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 Look, and I'm going to break it down very real for you. At United We Dream, we have this thing where to keep it real, when I say real talk, you say real. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Yeah, real talk. Donald Trump is a racist madman. His white supremacist views are like cancer that are spreading throughout the country. But you know what? Real talk? Real talk? This sisterhood over here, all around you, all of us are going to stop him. But not just him, because the problem is not just Donald Trump. Do you agree with me? We are going to stop white supremacy together. Because let me tell you something. We're not going to be fooled. We know that the same people in power who support and uphold those white supremacist views are the same people that are keeping the government under shutdown for a wall, for a racist wall. We know that those are the same people that are trying to tell women that we cannot control our own bodies. Those are the same people that are targeting our Native American communities. Those are the same people that are attacking our LGBTQI trans community. They're the same people who are making money and ensuring that we have more jails so that they can put their brown and black bodies. They're the same people that are responsible for the fact. Real talk? Real talk? There are still 15,000 children in cages as we speak. They're still there. And I want you to feel that outrage. Right now as we speak, there are still 400,000 immigrants in detention camps. And as our sister Rui reminded us yesterday, we cannot call them detention camps. Let's call them the real thing, the real name. They're terror sites.
They're sites of terror. That's what they are. And in one of them, one of our friends and immigrant youth leader, Eduardo Samaniego, is still there, locked up in solitary confinement because he's undocumented. As we speak, that is the reality of many people in our communities. So when you hear Trump say that he wants a wall, what he really is saying is that he wants more sites of terror, more agents to terrorize immigrant communities, and he wants to continue to kick us out of this country, immigrant youth and families. So when you hear creative politicians say to you that we should negotiate with Trump, that maybe we should compromise, let me be very clear. Real talk? Real talk? We are united with Dream, and we as movements cannot compromise with white supremacy. We will not negotiate with white supremacy. We must resist white supremacy. We must resist Trump. And I know that we will take them down together. So together, join me in ensuring that we stop this racist wall, that we stop this mass deportation agenda, that we ensure that Eduardo is free so that he can be with his family. And that when Trump repeats, probably later today when he speaks at 4 p.m., that he wants a wall, we are going to say no. We're going to say no. Because we're not dealing with white supremacists. No more money for deportations. No more money for agents that are terrorizing our families and building sites of terror. What we need to be pushing Congress for right now is to take money away from those monsters. Take it away. Take it away. We must defund hate and bigotry. And Congress can do that right now. This is why together we took on the streets. We knock on doors. We brought the women's wave to Washington, D.C. and to Congress. That's why we did it. So I want you to join me today in ensuring that we take away that money from those monsters, that we defund that bigotry, that we stop this mass deportation agenda. Take out your phones and text defund hate to 877-877. Defund hate to 877-877. Real talk? Real talk? Are we gonna defund hate? Are we ready to stop white supremacy? Defund hate. Defund hate. Defund hate. Defund hate. And let me close with this. My sisters and siblings. No ban, no war, no rates. No ban, no war, no rates. No ban, no war, no rates. Thank you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, beautiful people who bring me so much hope and light. My name is Henna Zuberi, and I'm a Pakistani American. I'm a steering committee member of the Muslim Women contingent of the Muslim Women's March. And I'm the director of outreach for Justice for All, where I advocate to stop genocide of the Rohingya and Uyghur people. I am here today as a Muslim woman because Allah says in the Quran, "Oh, you who have believed, be persistently standing firmly in justice, witnesses for God, even if it is against yourselves." I am here because I live and breathe my faith because my role model, my beloved prophet, was a model of living a life of justice and made a just society. I am an immigrant. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a wife, and my faith teaches me the value of human life. I believe that every single life belongs to the Creator and therefore is valuable. I'm here as a fighter against violence against women, against the rape of our sisters. I have seen what happens when rape is normalized. My Rohingya sisters have suffered rape as a weapon of war. Hundreds and thousands of them, survivors of genocide. My work lets me connect local and global issues, how Islamophobia and the war on terror has destroyed entire countries. I am here as an advocate of survivors of genocide and refugees. And there is a refugee crisis around the world. And we see it right here at our border. The millions of refugees around the world are a part of this crisis. I have witnessed what unabated hate, fake news, and division can do to a country. We cannot let that happen here. It ends with genocide. We cannot let that happen here. We cannot believe that American exceptionalism will stop this from happening here. We have to actively fight against bigotry and hatred every single day. The people at our borders, they're running away from violence. We can expect them to increase. We need to welcome them. Are you with me? We need to remove the cap on refugees. Are you with me? We need to stop the wars in our streets here in DC and overseas. We need to end wars that kill black and brown people every single day. I am marching for my Rohingya, Uyghur, Syrian, inner city American sisters, my Palestinian, Kashmiri, Nigerian, Yemeni, Kar Republic sisters, my Afghani, Iraqi sisters, and children affected by our wars and our destructive policies. I march against rape and genocide for the dignity of human life, firm in the belief that Islam is a powerful agent of change and goodness in this world. Are you with me? We need to redirect military money to benefit our children here, our urban cities, our healthcare system right here. Are you with me? We need to free the political prisoners that are imprisoned in our country for their beliefs. Are you with me? We need to lead with compassion. Are you with me? I'm here with a large group of amazing Muslim women rising with the wave. We came here to march for racial, economic, social justice as dictated by God. Are you with us? We march for equity. We're marching for our children. Are you with us? We are marching for our sisters in inner cities across this nation. Are you with us? We march for Black Lives Matter because 1/3 of American Muslims are black and because our enslaved ancestors were brought here to this country. Every Black Lives matters to us. We are here for our black sisters who have lost their sons and daughters to state violence. We march for unjustly imprisoned, like the American Muslim journalist who is in prison right here in DC. Free her. We march against the Muslim ban. Say it with me. No Muslim ban ever. We march against unjust policies that separate families at the borders and through the Muslim ban. Are you with us? We are marching because we love our people and believe that diversity is what makes this country so powerful. Are you with us? We march for the refugees seeking shelter at our borders, the children caged in internment camps. Are you with us? We march for the hundreds and thousands of children orphaned by wars that are funded by our tax dollars. Are you with us? When we unite, then change will come. Are you with us? Thank you.
Hello, hello. How is everybody tonight? Woo! My name is Mia Ives Rubley, and I'm the founder and coordinator of the Women's March Disability Caucus. Give it up. Woo! And first I want to let everybody know there is a hearing aid that was lost. It's at the volunteer tent. And as I say, the volunteers, give it up for the volunteers. So the Women's March Disability Caucus really got founded by how many grassroots groups have gotten founded by. It's when activists get together and they decide to create their own seats at the table. For me, as a disabled woman and a Korean American transracial adoptee, I have been raised by two amazing parents who believed I had a right to express myself and maintain independence to the best of my ability through self-advocacy. After years of feeling left out of so many things due to my disability, my race, and my gender, I became extremely nervous after the 26th election, and I'm pretty sure everybody felt that way. I knew as an individual with multiple marginalized identities, I would see myself and my friends get battered due to the current political powers deciding that our needs and our lives were not important. I had been organizing and advocating on local and state levels, but I decided that I need to rededicate myself to organizing in bigger ways. After the 2016 election, I started to see posts about the Women's March, as many of you probably did, right after the election, and thought it would be a great time to get my hands dirty by looking at helping my state group get to DC, or to help a sister march in North Carolina. But like many amazing advocates and activists before me, I noticed a huge issue around accessibility. People were writing to the Women's March asking about accessibility, and I too was concerned, especially since I wasn't seeing the questions answered, and had been attending numerous inaccessible marches and events throughout my life. So I started contacting the Women's March organizers to see if there were ways that I could help with accessibility. When I didn't hear anything, I got together with a group of friends who were all disabled to help build power and to contact the Women's March as a group. We finally were able to get their ear and get a seat at the table. And now, we wanted a seat at the table. We didn't want participation trophies. We were not satisfied with being token individuals within a progressive group. Now, this process is by no means a smooth process. Many times, policies and plans had been developed, and we had to flag them and help redevelop them to make sure that they were inclusive of disabled people. But each time that we had to change things, I saw minds of individuals on all levels of the team being changed. I saw people that were realizing that they need to reorient themselves from disability participation perspective to a truly inclusive disability justice perspective. Change is not smooth or pretty, but if you organize with the right people, you can have a lasting impact. This year, I saw amazing differences to how this Women's March was organized compared to the first time that I got involved. We really were able to incorporate the lessons that we together learned to improve the relationships between the disability community and the Women's March. Staff reached out in the beginning of the planning phase to make sure that disabled women had a say in the legislative agenda, and that's a huge thing. I have to give a big shout out to Carrie Gray, Rebecca Coakley, and Catherine Perez. They helped to develop a legislative priorities that focused on disabled women, ensuring that we were able to make our beliefs known around universal health care that included disabled people. We also made sure that we included in-home and community long-term support services within the health care for all. We also enforced that there needed to be a real look at reproductive health clinics and how accessible they are. We also made sure that we were addressing the issues around economic independence for the disability community. The Disability Caucus also helped with a lot of the accessibility services that were provided today. And I want to say thank you so much to all the volunteers that helped make this one of the most accessible marches in history. As we continue to strive for more inclusive environments, we need to coordinate with amazing activist groups in the disability community. I want to give a shout out to the Coalition for Disabled Latinxes, the Disability March Group, which gives disabled people an alternative way to participate in the march by providing stories and posting them on websites so that individuals who are not able to attend a march can post their stories. I also want to give a shout out to the Disability Action for America and numerous other amazing groups that helped ensure that every American can access health care. The time is now to ensure that disabled women perspectives are taken seriously. I sit here before you to make a pledge towards fighting for the women's agenda, which is inclusive of people like me. And I want to encourage you to commit with me. Now, as the disabled community likes to say, nothing about us without us. 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 Thank you so much.
Hey, DC! I don't care what anyone says. There ain't nobody more committed than the women. And when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I want to say, as Vice President of the NAACP DC branch, I want to say thank you for coming out. Thank you for showing up. And I want you to all know that when we come together, one by one, sister to sister, aunts, uncles, grandmothers, and we want to thank our brothers that stand up also. But what's most important, my career began in politics in 1968. I celebrate my 68th birthday next Friday. And I've been in this struggle since Dr. Martin Luther King took his first speech, made his commitment with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Dr. King was a trailblazer. He was 26 years old. He died at 38. This is our future right here. My job is to encourage, motivate, spend my time, energy, and money in pushing forward these young women. My agenda, and I take nothing away from white women, but black women and girls need mentors. And they need mentors that look like them. So I want to introduce you to the 2036 President of the United States of America, Amari Finoy. She is the president of the Youth and College Division at Spelman University in Atlanta, Georgia. Give it up.
Hello, everybody. Like you said, I'm Amari Finoy from Spelman College. I'm a graduating senior, political science major. So in March of 2018, I rode on a bus to D.C. to ensure that black voices were heard and put on the agenda for the March of Our Lives. So today, January 19, 2019, I am here to make sure that the black agenda is here for the Women's March. A lot has happened since the first annual Women's March. I am concerned that we are more excited about the hype of being a part of the movement than actually doing the work for the movement. So we have a problem. We have some allies who aren't really allies. And we must tell the truth. We have individuals who support us throughout the campaign, but when you're in private in the booth, you vote another way. We have individuals who have hidden bias against communities. We have individuals who think making posts, liking pictures on social media, and making posters are allies. You're not. Since the Women's March, we've seen examples of people not stepping to the fact that we are allies. We had a student at an Ivy League college. She was sleeping in the lounge, and security was called on her. We have individuals at Starbucks, and police were called on them. Shakisha Clemens was dragged through a Waffle House by a police officer. We have a black worker at McDonald's who was attacked by a white man. We have a black teenager, Nia Wilson, whose throat was slit in Oakland by a white man. I don't see allies, I see bystanders. We must discuss how black women are amongst the top 5% of earners in the U.S. We must discuss how black women make 67 cents to every dollar our white counterparts make. We must talk about how 1 out of 5 women are sexually assaulted before the age of 18, including myself. So here are solutions. We have hard discussions, even the ones you don't want to have. We have educational forums. We vote in our best interest. And we trust black women always. In 2019, we have had great progress. We have broken barriers in January. We have 112 women in Congress, which exceeds the fact that we had 107 previously. And Georgia is very proud of our very own Lucy McBeth. Very proud, very proud. So in 2019, the NAACP won a lawsuit to extend voting poll hours in Georgia for Spelman and Morehouse. We won clemency for Centoya Brown. So those are some solutions. So in order to continue to move forward, we have to have some actions. So I need you to look at don't look at your neighbor that you came with. I need you to look in the eyes of a stranger, and I need you to repeat after me. Are you looking into the eyes of a stranger next to you? I have your back in this march. I am making a promise to you. I will be your ally in a real way that actually shows up for you. I will not just commit to talking or posting about what is going on. If you are being attacked, I will be there for you. These last 2 years have not shown my commitment to you. This is me renewing my vows to you. If Shakisha Clements happens again, I will be there for you. I'm going to step in for you. I will not call the police on you. I will have your back. I am sorry for the last 2 years in America. 400, you're right. For this roller coaster. I will protect you. When injustice shows up. And what happens to your community hurts me as well. I just want to tell you, we have nothing to lose but our shackles.
I am Sadiqa Reynolds, and I am the president of the Louisville Urban League. And I am here today representing the Urban League movement across the country, with over half of our affiliates being run by women. And not just any women, but generally strong, educated, outspoken Black women. Girls don't run the world, but maybe we should. Maybe we should. Maybe we should be the ones that decide if there is war or peace. Maybe we should decide if there is affordable housing or homelessness, health care or no care, equal pay or injustice, culturally competent education that recognizes our students' gifts. Maybe we should be the ones to decide what happens with our bodies and to have our own conversations with God. Maybe we should run the part of the world that decides how to repair the damage that this country has caused with redlining. Maybe we should decide who gets clean water in America. Maybe we should run the part of America that ensures affordable housing in every zip code in this country. Maybe we should run the part that focuses on economic integration. I mean, how can we ever be equal if I have no resources? Maybe women, maybe Black women ought to be running Hollywood. Maybe it would not have taken so long for us to see ourselves reflected by that which is best among us. Like you, I am a woman, but I am more than a woman. I am a Black woman. And if women have been in the back of the line, then Black women have been in the back of the back of the back of the line. And there is no place in a great America for racism, sexism, hatred, bigotry, anti-Semitism, homophobia, discrimination. America can never be great without my voice. Hey, listen, there is no room in America for another wall. I am a woman, but I am more than that. My existence is even more complicated than that. I myself am a lawyer. I am a former judge, and I have been up close with the absolute best of law enforcement, and I honor those that are the best. And yet, there is police brutality. I stand today for the mother of sons and daughters subjected to subpar educational outcomes, police brutality, lower wage jobs, and health disparities. Discrimination in every form has been our inheritance. I am the face of the woman, like Serena Williams, unlimited resources and still terrible health care, begging for medical treatment when we deliver our children. I represent black women who can take no comfort in silence. We are not angry. We have simply swallowed so much pain. It is oozing from our pores, and it comes out like fire. Hot enough to burn just one more person attempting to oppress us, to keep us from our freedom. My existence in this country is complicated, and when I march, I am here with my people on my back, unable to rise without the entirety of my race rising with me. Still here, fighting for space in this world. White supremacy is a threat to all of us, but we must recognize that it lands on black bodies differently. But you and I, together today and together tomorrow, we can change America. We can be what we are supposed to be. We can help this country keep the promise of what she is supposed to be for all of us. Let us agree to stand together when the humanity of you is at risk of being ignored and extinguished. And I beg you, please, to stand with me when my humanity is not recognized. When those in power refuse to respond to my call. We cannot support an America where children die in cages at borders, where the school-to-prison pipeline is not disrupted, where men with health care try to tell us how we should care for our bodies. We should decide there is no room in America for Confederate monuments. They were losers. Sisters, this has been one of the most welcoming group of women I have ever had the pleasure to stand with. And one thing, I want to look you in the eye just before I go, and I want to say this. Women, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. Last thing, we want federal workers back at work. We want this government open. But if they should somehow get funding for that wall, we will tear it down. We will tear it down. We will tear it down. There will be no wall in America. Together. Thank you. The Urban League. Thanks you.
If you can, repeat after me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains. Good afternoon, Women's March. My name is Mary Pat Hector, and today I stand here in the spirit of Mary McLeod Bethune, Ida B. Wells, and Dorothy Irene Height, women that have contributed so much to our country. And this morning on my way over here, I was watching the news, and I still saw children locked in cages. I saw political leaders turn a blind eye as people seeking political asylum are dehumanized in front of the world. And then I realized that I had seen this before. There was a city by the name of Jericho, But just like the people in Jericho, there may be big walls, but when good people like us come together, those walls can come down. I am here to remind you that we can no longer get comfortable. We got excited when we saw a Barack and Michelle Obama. But while we were happy and rejoicing, there were meetings in dark places and alleys that said, never again. Coretta Scott King once said, freedom is never really won. You win it and earn it in every generation. And that means, Women's Wave, that we have work to do. You cannot believe in human rights and not believe in human responsibility. And that is why I say, following this march, we need to get to work. Because a war against women's rights and civil rights has been declared, and some of you missed it. We can't change the world unless we change home first. And so that means we have to have some very uncomfortable conversations about race and this movement and how intersectionality is important and that we have to work together. So again, I say, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We are Free Her. We stand on behalf of the more than 1.2 million women entangled in the United States criminal legal system, 200,000 currently in prison, and 1 million on parole or probation. If you have ever heard the cries of an incarcerated mother at 3 o'clock in the morning, desperate to see and hold her children, it is something you will never forget. They have created policies of separation, punishment, and incarceration as an answer to the struggles of poor people and derived from the policies of slavery. Incarcerated women are mostly mothers. The choices women make in search of food and shelter too often to escape violence and abuse are the same, no matter what side of the border they are on. At the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, we have spoken to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women throughout the United States. And we have traveled to Mexico and Brazil and Argentina and the Caribbean and spoken to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women there as well. Whether in Chicago or the Bronx or Appalachia or the rural communities of lower Alabama, the women's stories are the same as women in the states and towns of Mexico or the favelas of Sao Paulo. Stories of lifetimes of struggle as a result of being cash-poor women navigating through persistent poverty and lack of food and housing. They tell the same stories of over-criminalization and a drug war that for decades targeted their communities and continues to cause devastating social and economic disruption that has left women of our communities alone to raise our children with little to no support or access to meaningful resources and opportunity. And most disturbing are the same stories of being witnesses to and victims of violence while their trauma goes unacknowledged and untreated. The common stories of sexual violence often starting during childhood. We also know the pain of being separated from our children and incarcerated in jails and prisons across this country that leads to incarceration of our children. Women are currently the fastest growing incarceration population in this United States.
We know this to be true because we lived in a federal prison and as incarcerated women, during which time we were separated from our children, our daughters, our sons. Millions of children are separated from their mothers due to unnecessary incarceration right here in the United States. And 85% of incarcerated mothers were the primary caretakers of their children prior to their incarceration. What kind of country takes the most vulnerable and harmed among us and responds to their pain and trauma with a prison cell and protracted sentences, increasing the pain, suffering, and economic disparity that deepens the poverty for their children, families, and communities? We must recognize that separation of mothers from their children under any circumstances must be avoided whenever possible. Keeping families together should be a priority of a civilized society. We need meaningful criminal justice reform. We must not stop at the wasted effort of the First Step Act. We must move this country to ending incarceration in the way that we have carried it forward. We must have meaningful criminal justice reform. We need to stop the separation of mothers from their children, whether they are making choices in search of a better life that brings them to our borders, or whether we are talking about mothers from the East Capitol Housing Development or the 7th and 8th wards with the highest rate of incarceration right here, who are locked up in the D.C. jail, state prisons, or any of the thousands of women we were incarcerated with in the federal system. These women need to be reunited with their children as well. Let's not leave out the fight for freedom, dignity, and justice on behalf of the women and children separated by overcriminalization and mass incarceration. Join us in our work at the National Council to end the mass incarceration of women and girls. Free her! Free her! Free her! Free her! Free her! Free her! Free her!
Family, how y'all doing? I said, family, how y'all doing? My name is Deborah Harrison. I'm one of the chapter leaders and field organizers for Women's March, and I stand here today with my sisters that are also chapter leaders, but I also stand here today with family. And I call you all family because that is what we are. That is what we are. And that is the environment that Women's March has created globally. They have created a family that is holding the line for justice, that is holding the line for peace. We are the ones standing in the gap through the network of Women's March, through our trials and tribulations, through our joys, through the sorrows. We are moving together for a more just future and a just today. How are you doing, family? And I encourage all of you to keep standing in the gap for one another. Keep standing with Women's March. Keep having the encouraging conversations and the difficult conversations. Grab your brother and sister's hand. Become an ally. We got work to do, family.
Good afternoon, people. You can do better than that. Let me hear you. I am very humbled and privileged to be one of the chapter leaders of Women March. I hail from the great state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, where 60 years ago, a black woman by the name of Clara Luper and the youth president of the NAACP started a wave and had the first sit-in ever in the nation. Whereas 60 years later, we just elected our first female Democratic
Congresswoman Kendra Horn. We are very proud in Oklahoma, but we also have some issues that we all are dealing with, and we need you to engage. We've been talking about the wave is coming, where I'm here today to tell you the wave is here. Oklahoma, where we are #1 in incarceration of women per capita in the world, where a woman, Tondaleo Hall, can sit in prison for 41 years for being a victim of domestic violence, and her abuser served 28 days and his children returned to him. That must stop. The women's wave, we have to keep it going. We are asking you to continue to support the efforts of women of color, of black women. I love black women. Do you love black women? Are you satisfied with the leadership of my sisters? I love our Jewish sisters, our trans sisters, our queer women of color, our non-binary. We are inclusive, but it is time and we are here. Oklahoma sends you love and says, we need you to join with us and ride the wave. It is here. Women's Wave 2019.
We are here to celebrate all of us. And first of all, we want to make sure it's clear that we stand with our fearless leadership. The leadership that has led us to this place, led us to the Women's Wave, and now has taught us all to be empowered and keep this wave going and make sure the wave don't stop. We will not allow hate to tear us apart. We will not allow hate to stop the momentum of what's been happening and what is going on in the future. We are here. So when I say, what wave? I want you to say Women's Wave. What wave? Women's Wave. What wave? Women's Wave. What wave? Women's Wave. Everybody here is a part of the human family. We're all connected, whether we accept it or understand it or not. So we are all entitled to the inalienable rights promised to us by the Constitution of this country. Until we are all free, none of us are free. And until body autonomy belongs to all of us, none of us are free. Until people like Sister Shakisha Clemens gets justice, none of us are free. Woo! Sister Shakisha, y'all.
I can't hear y'all. I can't hear y'all. All right. I'm Shakisha Clemens. As many may know, I have a life-death experience which sparked my activism. I was recently discriminated and racially profiled by the Waffle House and the Saraland Police Department in Alabama. Today, I stand before you in solidarity with all my sisters that has been treated less of their worth with no justice to heal their hearts. I am filling the space for all of us. Let's stand together and fight against injustice, sexual assault, race, and gender discrimination. We are not free unless we all are free. We are not free unless we all are free. We are not free. We are going to boycott the Waffle House. That means no eating at the Waffle House. We don't respect them. They don't respect us. They don't earn our dollars. That's period. So, I want to hear everybody say, boycott the Waffle House. Boycott the Waffle House. Boycott the Waffle House. Thank y'all.
So we're going to leave y'all with one more chant, because this is not just a chant. These are messages we're taking to our dinner table, our offices, our churches, our places where we commune with people. So I want you all to repeat after us. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Now we're going to say freedom. What do we want? Freedom. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Freedom. When do we want it? Now. Now we're going to say love, because that is what we need. What do we want? Love. When do we need it? Now. What do we want?
future, can you welcome to the stage our youth empowerment group? So when I say youth, you say empower. Youth. Youth.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming out. We are so excited to be ending the event today with the youth of the future.
My name is Sarah Mora. I am 22 years old and I'm co-president of Women's March Youth Empower, the youth voice of Women's March.
My name is Samantha Cotter. I am 20 years old and I am profoundly grateful to be marching with you today as co-president of Women's March Youth Empower. We stand up here with the strength of over 200 Youth Empower chapters from across the nation. Chapters who have been changing the narrative, leading key conversations, and organizing actions to create change in their communities.
Being able to speak here before you all makes me feel that my familia is being heard. And as an undocumented person, I can tell you in my own skin that the current narrative led by the administration is fear. Every news headline hits vulnerable communities, comunidades como la mía, communities like my own. They hit home in a way meant to keep us silent, scared, worried, and confused. The goal is to intimidate and silence the voices of people who are already not being heard. And that is why I speak out. Now more than ever, we need to join together and be grounded in our identities, grounded in the confidence that speaking out is what is right.
As young women in America, it is a difficult time to have our voices heard, our ideologies acknowledged, and our perspectives valued. Yet, youth are being impacted by every issue in our nation and fighting for change on behalf of all of them, because all issues are youth issues.
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." To all the young people with us today or hearing this, do not underestimate your youth.
Youth have taken to the streets multiple times over the past years. We have blocked policy from being passed. We have showed up to vote in larger numbers than ever expected before. We are taking power away from racist, homophobic, sexist, transphobic, Islamophobic politicians that have showed time and time again they have no concern for us.
In March 2018, when we led the historic national school walkouts that saw 1.6 million students walk out of school to demand sensible gun regulations, we did so because we were tired of waiting on others to make change for us. We took control of our voices and we will take control of our future.
Today, youth are marching together in solidarity with our adult counterparts in DC, across the country, and the world. To my fellow youth, we will not be given power. We must take it. Because there is value in our stories. There is value in our words. There is value in us. To the adults, I ask that when you have the opportunity, amplify youth voices. Mentor youth so we don't make the same mistakes that you have. And provide a platform in your movements for youth, as Women's March has been so great to do here today.
My phone just died, so my piece is not on my phone anymore, but I want to tell you guys that this is what I feel from the bottom of my heart. I feel that youth are the dismantlers of outdated systems. Y vamos a seguir luchando porque nosotros somos el futuro. We are going to keep fighting because we're the future, but we will not wait until the future to stand up and speak up and make change happen now.
We, the youth of America, will not wait to have our voices heard tomorrow while our future is being decided today. Youth of America, our time is now.
If you believe in us, if you're fighting with us, then invest in this mission and ensure that we have the resources to do this work. Donate now to help this empowered group, to help empower us to be leaders. We have been, I just messed up. Donate now to help empower us to be the leaders we have been waiting for. That's what I meant to say. The type of leaders that will empower a nation. So I want you all to pull out your phones. Pull out your phones right now. I know y'all got your phones because I see you recording. Pull out your phones and give what you can via Venmo at Women's March or text WAVE to 40649. Again, if you're trying to donate, then go to Venmo and look up at Women's March or text WAVE to 40649. We are the future, period.
Thank you all.
To our future, I know you don't completely understand what's happening right now. But you can feel something is deeply wrong in America. I know that's scary. And sometimes scared too. But that's why I want to tell you about the women in our family. Because they are the strongest people I know. These past few years have been tough. Powerful men who think they can do whatever they want. They laughed at us, thought they had us beat. But the women in our family, we marched. We took to the streets, and 5 million of us raised our voices. I hope you remember that day as one of the proudest moments of my life. And we didn't just march. We organized, reclaimed our time, held firm on every important issue facing this country, supported every ally doing what's right. The women in our family, we won't be silenced. And when the men in power saw that we were starting to change things, they panicked. They tried to scare us. But their time was up. The women in our family are a part of a movement that's sending shockwaves through every campus, office, every chamber in America. So that hopefully you will never have to face what we did. The women in our family, we rise like the water, high enough, strong enough to break down every single wall put in our way. And we will not quit until we wash away the old world that tried to keep us down. So, don't be scared. I'll always be here for you. And so will the millions of women I've met fighting. We're family now, and more will join us, because the work is only beginning.
Thank you, brother. Inknash Winuksha, Roxanne White, Washnash Kanik, Yakima, Nimipu, Wishaishash, Duwamish Territory, Seattle, Washington. My name is Roxanne White. I'm Yakima, Nez Perce, and I presently reside on Duwamish Territory, Seattle, Washington. I want to honor the indigenous peoples of Washington, D.C., and the indigenous lands that we're on. Our hands are up to the indigenous people of this country and every country on every continent. We are missing murdered indigenous women and girls. I want to thank my brother right here for singing us in. They let us come on here. They're giving us 3 minutes, so if I speak really fast, it's because I got little time. And we're talking about a very serious and a very heartbreaking epidemic that goes by missing and murdered indigenous women and girls. This family right here, we ran into in the crowds on the sidelines. Their daughter and their sister has been missing for 18 months. They haven't had a proper investigation. They haven't had any mainstream media cover their family members. My cousin, Rosenda Strong, has been missing since October 2nd of 2018 from the Yakima Indian Reservation. Leona Kinsey has been missing from Oregon since 1999. Alyssa McLemore has been missing since 2009 from Kent, Washington. We are still here. I want to say thank you to the committee for allowing us and for the ancestors for opening the gates and letting us on at this last few minutes here. We want to say the names of our relatives. We want the world to know that our sisters are missing and nobody cares. We feel alone. We need the rest of the world to see us. We need the rest of the world to stand with us. I want to say the names. Rosenda Strong, say her name. Alyssa McLemore, say her name. Esther Smith, say her name. Larissa Lawnhill, say her name. Jessica Santos, say her name. Leona Kinsey, say her name. Jackie Saylor, say her name. Janice Hannigan, say her name. Felina Metzger, say her name. Henny Scott, say her name. Frances Brown, say her name. Danielle Vigil, say her name. Their daughter is Danielle Vigil, their sister. This is how we come across. We make up 2% of this world, and this is our land. We were here. We've been here for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Indigenous people, Native people of this country have been here. And it's hurtful when people talk about rights and freedom and we haven't seen it. We live in third world cities and reservations. A lot of people think that we're rich and we have a lot of money. We barely can keep up. And the world around us doesn't see us. We're not alcoholics. We're not drunks. We're not invisible. We're here. I want to encourage all my indigenous people, all my relatives, to please stand strong together. I want to ask you to be more than an ally, be a co-conspirator to indigenous people. We're going to sing a song as we go out. I'm really nervous. I want to say this. We love all our relatives across the world. And it's not just indigenous people. When we go missing, we go more than just missing within our families and at our tables and in our ceremonies, but we go missing to the entire world. And so we're here to say to all our relatives, all our you. Our prayers are with our colonial people, our white relatives. We want to tell you that you were first colonized before they came here and colonized us, and so we pray for you too. We pray for you too. We pray for this government that you guys have all been talking about. I've been listening to it all day, talking about a government and a system that doesn't honor its first people, that hasn't honored the treaties or our reservations or our people. Protect our women. This is a women's march. Until you protect and honor the first people, the first women of this country, you can't have any justice.
Thank you, Roxanne. My name Join us. Look it up online. We're innovationshtc.org. We're innovationshtc.org. We need you to support us on policy changes. We need you to support us in making sure that we are not invisible. Thank you.
Turn the mics on! baby when they fall. You didn't even hurt yourself. Baby ball.
Avery, you got a picker? Is this still in the back of that?
President Trump is about to make what he's calling a major announcement on the government shutdown and border security. He'll be speaking live from the diplomatic reception room of the White House.